Howdy folks, Greyhawk 4x4 coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer. Today's video is going to be a vlog about all different manner of gaming topics. We're going to start off with my weekly D&D game that takes place back there. The DM that is running us through right now put us through a dungeon that was all manner of traps. There were, I should say, traps and puzzles. There were traps. There were puzzles that had to be deciphered. There were anagrams. There were all different types of things that take brain power. And luckily, one of the members in our group, who does not drink beer, took the lead in deciphering these puzzles and everything. And then another guy, he solved one of them. But I play a barbarian. And barbarians, we smash shit and drink ale. And not only that, I'm a dwarf barbarian. So, yeah, the last thing that he concerns himself with is trying to decipher runes and riddles and all that type of stuff. That's what rogues and the finger wagglers are for. So I sat back, tried to, interject where I could, but for the most part was a stalwart observer. And of course, my job was, while they were all, their characters were all trying to navigate through all of these puzzles and traps and everything, my job was to watch the rear and make sure that we didn't get sneak attacked by anything, and I did my job very well. So that was an interesting session last Friday. Then on Saturday, went to our Pathfinder game, and that's a much higher level. We're at higher level there. I play a dwarf ranger, and we are 11. At least I'm 11th level. I think one of the party members is 12th level. We were in the middle of a battle, and I was doing okay. I was hurt a little bit. I'd taken a little bit of damage, but I think I have 115 like normal hit points is my max. So I was feeling good, no problems. We're combat, and next thing I know, we're fighting this spellcaster, and he does a prismatic spray spell, and you roll a dice, and it's a random event that happens and everything, a spell effect or whatever, and failed my saving throw or whatever, and the DM's like, well, you're dead. Yeah, just like that, you're dead. It was like a death poison attack, and I failed my saving throw, and it's like, you're dead. That was the first time that I had a character die in a role-playing, paper and pencil role-playing game. Probably in about 25 years, I'm guessing. Yeah, probably about 25 years. However, luckily, because we're high level and we've amassed a good amount of wealth, the surviving, now it wasn't just me. I mean, we had another character who was banished to another plane, and we had somebody else that was turned to stone. There was a whole lot of shit going on. And finally, the surviving members who finished the fight and managed to survive, barely, collected everything together and got us all to another city and spent a lot of gold to get us all brought back amongst the living. So that's how that went. That was a pretty interesting evening because, like I said, I hadn't had a character killed off in a long time. So that's how the gaming weekend went last weekend. We had the Puzzle Palooza, as I am going to call it from this point forward, the dungeon that we're in at our D&D game, and then we had the roulette wheel of death that I'll call prismatic spray now, that we all got hit with. So you get turned to stone, you get banished to another plane, and you're just plain dead. Yeah, that's how that went. So anyway, that has been happening. The other thing that was big over the weekend in gaming, Ronda Rousey was a big thing. That's another video. But Gen Con took place over the weekend, and of course it's one of the very first. It's probably the first big gaming convention. But I think there was probably a couple Comic-Cons that were, San Diego or whatever that might have been, that predated Gen Con. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it's possible. So that went on, and if you don't know, that is the world's largest gaming convention, and it was started way back in the day by Gary Gygax, and it continues today thanks to Peter Atkinson, who regenerated it, and it's in Indianapolis now. It used to be in Lake Geneva, and it I don't know how many people they had there. I think they had upwards of 60,000 people or something like that, I think. And there wasn't any big news that came out of there. However, there was one very important happening that took place. Ernie Gygax Jr. and Benoit Poirier are the people that have GP Productions. They own GP Productions, I'm guessing for Gygax Poirier Productions, and they launched their Kickstarter for the Hobby Shop Dungeon. And I've talked about this before. The Hobby Shop Dungeon was a dungeon that was started back in Lake Geneva when D&D first started, when the TSR offices had an actual retail store below, and they all started working on this giant dungeon, and then Ernie kind of took it over, and it is now a thing because they have a Kickstarter, they have a product, they've already funded, so this is not like I'm not trying to get them funded or anything else like that. It's not a plug for that. This is a plug for an awesome product. Now, in Gygax Magazine, number 3, right there, I shouldn't say we, because at the time I was not associated with the magazine. I am now, but anyway, it was part of the Hobby Shop Dungeon was published in issue 3. And that right there, that map, that's only part of the Hobby Shop Dungeon. This is what they wanted to call the introductory module for the Hobby Shop Dungeon. And so this would basically be known as HSD 0. And then what's on Kickstarter is HSD 1. And there's going to be more to come. Now that they've successfully funded, I'm sure they're going to do more. But this particular one is the Marmoreal Tomb of Garn Patul. And I believe I'm pronouncing all of that correct. The Memorial Tomb of Garn Patul. There's also an introduction by John Peterson right here that talks about the history of the Hobby Shop Dungeon. And if you don't know who John Peterson is, he's basically the expert at this point on the history of gaming. He did a book called, I've got it back there, called Gaming at the World, or Playing at the World. And it's about that thick, and it's basically the history of gaming, and particularly as it pertains to how the history affected the Dungeons and Dragons and role-playing games, and then how they in fact influenced everything that came after that. It's an amazing book. Everybody should have it. Anyway, so you get the intro by John Peterson, and then you get the introductory module for the Memorial Tomb, which is part of the Hobby Shop Dungeon. It's all part of a bigger campaign that Ernie, I'm sure, is going to release now that they funded this first one, release more. So if you are interested, I'm sure you can order these issue number 3s, and then you can go. I'll put a link below to the Kickstarter if you want to reserve your copy for the because it funded on the first day. It's like on the 4th day or something like that now, and it's already like past 3 or 4 stretch goals, I think, and it'll probably hit several more. So if you just want to be in on it and have some awesome content for your game, follow the link and go check it out. And you can, they got an intro video and the whole bit. So something really neat to check out. Then the last thing I wanted to talk about was big announcement today was they've announced, Warner Brothers has announced a new Dungeons and Dragons movie. It is a go. They've got a script apparently. It's going to be in Forgotten Realms. Thank goodness. I was hoping for Greyhawk, but Forgotten Realms, as far as market identifiability or whatever you want to call it, recognition. There's the word I'm looking for. Market recognition. Forgotten Realms is the much better bet because they sold so many more novels and everything in addition to the game itself. So many more products and novels and everything else in Forgotten Realms than they did for Greyhawk. But I can always cross my fingers for a Greyhawk movie at some point down the road. But anyway, so it sounds like Warner Bros. Is going to put some real money behind it and hopefully get some really talented people involved. Of course, I'm wearing the hat from the first D&D movie, which did not have a lot of funding, and it showed and everything. So, but I had one comment. I have seen people who have been posting today who are already being negative about this new announcement. And rather than embrace it and say, yeah, we're going to get another D&D movie. Hopefully this one will be good, and it'll be in Forgotten Realms, and awesome, can't wait. And I think the same people that are being negative on this are the same people who bitch and moan about George Lucas and bitch and moan about Peter Jackson. That George Lucas did something that they didn't like, whether it was Jar Jar Binks or whatever it was, and then Peter Jackson did whatever he did, with the Hobbit movies. They didn't like the Hobbit movies, or there was things in the Hobbit movies they didn't like, or whatever. But they forget the bigger picture. The bigger picture is these people allow us to live for a short time in those universes, in those worlds. Thank you, George Lucas, for inventing Star Wars, because then you wouldn't have all these people to bitch and moan and complain that they didn't like the prequels or whatever. I guess, they've forgotten that if it wasn't for George Lucas, they wouldn't even know what the hell Star Wars was. There wouldn't be such a thing. They would never have been in awe of the first movies when they came out. They forget about all that. They just focus on the negative. And I think the same people are going to piss all over this D&D movie. I'm not going to be one of those. I'm going to be excited about it. I'm hoping it's going to be fantastic. I'm hoping it's going to be on the level of the original Lord of the Rings trilogy that Peter Jackson did. Thank you, Mr. Jackson. I'm hoping it's going to be like that. And it's going to go ape shit, gangbusters, whatever, and that they decide to make more of them. And maybe even get a Greyhawk one down the road. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm going to be positive about it. The negative Nellies can kiss my ass. So, anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about today, guys. We're going on 14 minutes here. That's a long video. So, if you have any comments or whatever, leave them below. Thumb up, thumb down, share, whatever. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. Okay, so here we are in Greyhawk's Tavern at our weekly D&D game, and somebody who will remain nameless advertised today on Facebook that she did not like the minions. Matter of fact, she can't stand the minions. Wants them to be eradicated from the universe. So, of course, yours truly had to go to Walmart today and find everything minion that he could find to have all over the tavern today. We have minion plates. We have minion cups. We have minion tablecloths. We have minion stickers, which find their way into different places. napkins, and etc. So, as you can see, you're once again in the mind of a madman. Catch you on the flip side.